You are now listening to Project XX Cast podcast series.
Hello, Project X family. I'm your host, Nathan Jones, and welcome to the second episode of the X Cast. Project X's podcast by young people for young people. Maybe I'm not that young, but my two co-hosts here are
Joshua, Nathaniel.
And today is our sports episode, and we're joined with a very special guest, Paul Canoville. Paul is a former professional footballer and the first black player to play for Chelsea. He has an amazing story with success and challenges, which has led to his award-winning autobiography, Black and Blue, and which has led him to set up the Paul Canoville Foundation. I'm sure we'll hear more about that later, but thank you for joining us and welcome.
Good afternoon, and thank you again for inviting me.
How's it growing up and where did you grow up?
Good question. You're not joking around here, is it? I was born in Middlesex, and that part of Middlesex would be Southall. Little Asian, we used to call it. But that's my parents that came over in the Windrush and settled down in Southall. But with that, my mum separated with my dad. I was 2 years old at the time. But love Southall. I know I've moved like locally to here, Richmond, or you say Twickenham, which is in Fulham now. So,
how did you get the opportunity to play for a top, maybe team or an academy?
Well, I think through my youth, football was always in me. From the age of 5, I knew in myself that I wanted to be a professional footballer.
So you inspired yourself to play?
It was individually, yes.
Yeah.
It wasn't at that time of talking about grassroots. It was me knowing that I was really talented and good at football, good at all sports at the time, but very difficult to impress your mum, who, well, as you kids know, if your parents don't instill in you how important your education is, that's exactly what she tried to do with me. I didn't take it too seriously. I just wanted to play sports and play football. So playing Saturday side, school side, Sunday side, that's all I did. It was the time of secondary when I was playing for the district, and every opportunity when I came home from school, used to ask to go to the park to practice, and that was on my own. Had to read a book for half an hour first, then I was allowed to go into the park and just play with a ball. I did everything going. But at that time, I've got to say, my idol was Pele. First, looking at him, black and white TV, the World Cup. That later on, when it came to about my time of signing for Chelsea, I think the likes of Cyril Regis, Laurie Cunnan and Brendan Batson that used to play for West Brom. And the reason why Cyril Regis used to play for local side Southall, where I used to play for local side of Hillingdon. So he gave me my input, to say that if he could do it, then I could do it. So.
How was it tough, going through stages of going from one team to another?
Yeah, oh, man, you know what? I wouldn't say though, but playing for Hillingdon Borough, which was at that time Southern League, it was a really tough league back then. It was one of the best leagues going in non-league football. And like I mentioned, grassroots, it was my learning. And I was 16 years old and I was drafted into the first team. So you got to imagine, right, at 16, and some of the players that were playing at Hillingdon Borough had just retired from professionalism and nurtured me, to be honest. I mean, you understand. And I know you boys might not know them days, because now the boots that you wear today is a nice Adidas or Nikes and so forth.
Yeah.
Let me tell you something. I used to wear Woolworths, Winfield. If you don't know that supermarket,
don't know what
ask
that
your
is.
parent right now. Woolworths was a supermarket that sold cheap, school uniforms, do your shirts from school. That was how Woolworths was. It was upmarked for me. And that's where I had to buy my boots from. It cost £15 and I had to look after them. Because it's a case when we get boots, what do we usually do? Just throw it in the cupboard until we play with them again. You can't do that no more. Because when they dry up, next time you play with them, they'll split. So I had to wash my boots every time I played and polish them. Because my mum wouldn't let me play football again. So I remember when I joined, I was at Hillingdon, and the manager, first team manager, because we trained on a Tuesdays and a Thursday, and he told me to meet him on a Thursday in the afternoon early. And I remember it was down in West Drayton. And at that time, we called Steve Perryman at the sports shop. Steve Perryman used to play for Tottenham at that time. So I went to meet him. He took me in the shop. He said, yeah, go and pick yourself a pair of boots. Now, obviously, being a young black guy, I didn't want to pick the expensive boots. I was like, wow, man, look at those boots, look at the leather on that. And I was like, but I picked the cheapest boots, right? And I came back to the till with him and he told me, what do you think you're doing? And I went, what? He said, I told you to pick a pair of boots. Yeah, but I said, pick a quality pair of boots. And I went, yeah? Boy, I went back and picked the Spanish boots there, boy. I picked up some boots. It was about that time, £75. And that was a lot of money.
That's like
back then.
Hundreds now.
Yeah, exactly. So you don't know, when I put them boots, man, they fit like a glove. I looked up to them with pride. And from there, Alan Batts, his name was, who was the manager at Hillingdon Borough. And yeah, that was my breakthrough into the first team at Hillingdon Borough. And from 19, I went to trials down at Chelsea. First, I was invited. Don't get me wrong, I had trials at Southampton, Wimbledon, and West Brom, but nobody said I was talking earlier. Nobody says nothing to you. So when you get that, you feel that you're not good enough.
Yeah, usually when you go into academies, they are silent.
Yeah, but I can't understand that, because if you're being invited, that individual's either got to come onto you and explain or express it, say, yeah, we're watching you. I think you can improve in this. And, keep on your side and let you know, but we didn't get that at all. So it leaves you in the air thinking you're not good enough. And that's how I felt at 3 occasions. And even when at Chelsea for the week, I went for trials and they never said nothing, but they came back a week after and invited me again. And that's when I signed.
That's when
the
it
dream
all
came
kicked
true.
off.
Yeah, kicked off.
So what was it like? What was the emotions when you heard you was going to be playing for the first team? And obviously your mum as well, who's played a big part in your career.
Mum still didn't see the serious side of it, bro. Let me tell you how my mum stayed. Like, my sister was my rock, should I say. Anything I told my sister, she was most happy for me. And you can imagine, when you signed and told your parents or told your friends, yeah, man, I'm playing at such and such, they'd be, go on, behind you and so forth. My sister, yes, brother, go on, well done. And I phoned my mate and Jordan, he said, yeah, go on, my boy, son Chelsea, yeah. But when I phoned my mother, I said, Mum, guess what? I'm a professional at Chelsea. So what? I went, what? And that's how my mum was, you know what I mean? She didn't realise how serious this was. So I was kind of more or less on my own. Loner. That was, going training every day. And it was a case of, after I was given a 7-month contract to prove myself. And if I did so, that could renew it to another 3 years. And I remember after 4 months being in the reserve, and this was the excitement for me, because I was playing at clubs that I used to see on telly, like that Tottenhams and the Watfords, and I'm playing at these stadiums. You can't understand. So the surface, and you remember, I don't know if you're told when you're playing football, the surface of the pitch. Now, if you play on a rough pitch and you can play on that pitch, then you can play on anything. And that's how it was for me. So going and playing against teams, I was playing on the right wing, playing on the left wing, playing up front. I was man of the match at most games. And with that opportunity, I was called in to the first team. And it was a surprise. I remember it distinctly because I could see it. And I was drafted in against Crystal Palace, Selhurst Park. And I remember it distinctly. I phoned cousins, friends, everybody to make sure that they was there to watch me. You know what I mean? But I was sub. And you got to remember this. Sub. Today's games, how many subs do we have?
Like 3 or 5.
That's right. You have 6, but you can use 3. We only had 1 sub. That's how much we had. 11 players and 1 sub. So you imagine when that manager had to make a decision when to use his sub. Whether it was an injury, whether the keeper got injured, he got something, you could use a sub. Whether you wanted to change the game, you use that sub. Only 1. So you mentioned that was a difficult, if anything, of using that. So this game, it started off and didn't think. I thought, you know what? First thing I noticed, and I took notice, I took notice of the right back, because that's the player I'm going to play against. So I was focusing on him, thinking, man, that boy's so slow. Watch when I get on there, I'm going to roast him. You know, I was going like that. I was on the side. I said, yeah, get me on. So the first half, it was 0-0. It was even, you know what I mean? Come out. I thought, yeah, second half, and it stays like this, he's got to bring me on. And at the line, it was like 20 minutes went by and it was still 0-0. And I'm thinking, come on, man, get me on. And I'm trying to make noise now to my manager just to let him know I'm still here. So I started slamming my boots, you know what I mean? Yeah. And he ain't looking at me and I'm making noise, come on. And I'm thinking like last 15 minutes, I'm thinking this guy is not going to put me on. And it was the shout I've been waiting for. And the guy says, Canners, what? Go and get warmed up. I said, yes, man, ready. I started down the line, and once I started warming up the line, I started hearing this racist abuse being shouted at me. Now, I was shocked because I thought, wow, Crystal Palace fans, are they like that? They're trying to put me off. I said, nah, man, ignore that. And I had my back to the fans, and I kept continuing stretching and going down the line. But it got worse, and it got worse. And I was getting angry, and I've never heard anything like this. And don't get me wrong, I've grown up with racism, but never like this, not over pitch. And I was so angry that when I turned around, it was the shock of it. It wasn't Crystal Palace fans. It was a majority of my own fans. Wearing the Chelsea shirt, wearing the Chelsea scarf, and that was shocking to me. So all that adrenaline, you can imagine when you're buzzing, like you want to get on, all gone. And I got on the line, and honestly, I didn't move anywhere. I just waited for the referee to blow his whistle. And when he did so, I just ran straight into the changing room. So that was my first instance of, receiving racism from my own, majority of my own fans.
So how's it like dealing with the racism? Because obviously you're the only person of colour at Chelsea, so you're easy to pick out. So how did you deal with it?
It was difficult because I'd taken this for a whole 3 years. That was away and home games. And the instant that it happened the first time, I got a lot of backlash, should I say, from family members, cousins that saw me was there, and they were making so much noise to tell me, nah, Paul, you can't play for a club like that. The club's racist. But it wasn't about the club. It was these ignorant fans. And this is what I had to understand. Now, racism, when I said to you earlier about growing up with it, see, my mum used to tell me when she came through on the Windrush boat and first came here in the 60s, late 59, and how difficult it was for her as a young black girl. Now, when I say that, her story was when she wanted to be a nurse when she came over first time. But because she had the two of us, myself and my sister, obviously made her plans come back. So she worked in a hotel in the laundry. So to better herself or get some more money, she went and looked at the opportunity of being a maid and working, clean up the rooms.
How was poverty like? Did you have money? Did you
pay?
No.
Back then, I think as a kid, right, I was kind of not stubborn, but spoiled, because I always looked at other kids and I wanted what they had. And so I'd complain with my mum, like, can I get a trainers? No. And I, you know what I mean, get on and sulk and think, why can't I get that? But didn't understand how hard and difficult it was for my mum to bring up two kids on her own back then. And that's something that your parents can talk to you about, because it was something, as I said, with racism, when she went for that opportunity to be a maid, she saw the manager and he told her the position had gone. Fair enough. She went back downstairs and her friend, who was white, went upstairs for the same position and was given the job. With my mum now, don't get me wrong, because I think I get that stubbornness from her. She went back to the manager and asked the manager, why was I not given the job? You told me it was gone, but you gave my friend, the white woman, the job. And he was told that a black woman ain't allowed in the room. That's when my mum just left the position and went. So to see what she went through, it was either going to be me saying, you know what, yeah, I ain't going to play for this club no more. But what happens when I go and play for the next club? And that same materializes again. So for me, it was a case of, battling it and going through that. But at the time, I've got to say, it was so difficult because I didn't say nothing. I didn't complain. And the reason why I didn't complain, because I was frightened whether I would be kicked out or, out of the club because I complained. So, yeah, I took it. And it was hurtful, though. It was really hurtful.
That's terrible. There was no, referees that sorted it, nothing.
You know what? You're right, you said, because that was like, you couldn't even go to the referee and complain and say, look, man, that abuse I'm taking, what are you going to do about it? Because the ref had no authorities, you know what I mean? And you had no, what we sort of the security at that time could say nothing at the time.
When you were younger, which football team did you want to be in the most?
Boy, I remember talking about supporting Leeds United back then. And the reason why, we had a black and white telly, and Leeds United was a great team back in the 70s, playing real football. But they had these number tags by the socks. And that was it, the first time any football club had number tags at their socks. I begged my mother to give me those. And she said, look, when I begged her, I said, please, mummy, give me them. And I'll behave, I'll be a good boy. And she bought them for me. And I went to the park, didn't I? So, when you go to a park with a new, you got new kit.
Yeah.
Showing off. I showed off and I had my numbers, man. I showed off to everybody, the boys, yeah. And I took the numbers off, put them in my bag, continued playing football. When I went to my bag now to return home, I couldn't find them. Someone nicked them. Oh, you don't know how that hurt, boy. And I thought I could get away with it and go inside and go into my bedroom, but my mum noticed it. And she was totally upset. So, but that was the team I supported until I finally signed for Chelsea. And then for 2 years, I think, just before we got promoted to Division 1, I decided to give my loyalty to Chelsea. That's it.
So obviously you said how your mum came down on the Windrush. If you came with her, how was that experience? Because obviously I know quite a bit about that, and the stories what I've heard aren't pleasant. How you have to stand up throughout the whole way and whatnot. So how did you find that experience? And
well, to be honest, and that's a really good, interesting question, because I've never gone so in deep about it, because my mum was 16 years old and she left 5 brothers and 4 sisters in St. Martin to come here on her own. I thought that alone was brave. She didn't know nobody on the boat. She comes here to England, a new country, to better herself, to be a nurse. That, I don't know. I even asked, I said, why did you leave St. Martin? I could have been born over there and played, but I don't know who I'd have played for. I'd have to play for France, because that's where Dutch comes in 2 halves, the Dutch side and the French side, and she lives on the French side. But I think with my mum, she came over, she brought that disciplinary. They were disciplined. And I met my granddaddy and I met my grandmother, and boy, they were hard. And so I don't know if I could have taken that, because don't get me wrong, us kids here, and I'm just going by experience, us kids, we were difficult. We were we listened, but we didn't listen. We'd like to do our own things, and I was that kind of boy. I was really difficult. So for mum, it was a case, I used to get myself in trouble, used to sneak out of the window, used to go around following the wrong boys. I didn't know no better. I was kind of the youngest out of I wouldn't say it was a gang, but your friends, I was the youngest out of them. The respect that I have to say that I got from them, because they knew how talented I was in football. And when they was up to no good, they would keep me away. That's what I had to look up to. And they would say, nah, Paul, you can't get involved here. What do you mean? I want to come. But no, they would tell me, stay at home. you're not coming in there. So I really respected them for that, because they knew I told them I was in football and they kept me away from trouble. It was only me that, unfortunately, when I got myself in that trouble and had to learn the hard way. And first crime I did, they sent me to Borstal. Yeah, and that was the worst time of my life, bruv. Seriously. I was 14 too. I was 15 and I went to Borstal.
Was you treated equally to other children in school? Because I'm not even gonna lie. That's how it's still like that. Yeah. I mean, I'm not even gonna lie. Me and him get targeted in school.
Yeah.
Like 24. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not an angel. Yeah. I make mistakes, and I sometimes I struggle to learn in class. Sometimes I can't stop fidgeting or something like that. But sometimes, you do the right thing and you don't get enough for it. Like, especially when Nathaniel's done something really well, maybe something he's
not recognised.
Maybe he's struggled with it and he doesn't get enough for it. And then when he does a little slip, it's recognised. Yeah, and it's made out to be a big
when you say
thing.
that.
This is what happens in our school. You could do like 300 things right in one class. That one thing they'll write like 10 different things for it. But they never put down that good thing what you've done.
Obviously, it's
never.
Do you think... All right, why we picked on? Is it individually because your colour, or is it individually because you're slow?
If you were to say that now in our day and age, it was made out to be a big thing. Oh, how could you say that? No way, no. But deep down, you don't know, because you're not them. You don't know what goes through their head every day. You never know. I know it's a very serious thing to say, but maybe a teacher could be like, maybe he's not as important because of what he looks like. And maybe focus on them, put their attention on a different student due to either their race, colour, the way they speak, the way they act.
Listen up when I say this, right? Because after football, because I was, like I said, explaining to you, I didn't take my education seriously. And when I say I didn't take it, I left school without taking any exams. So when football came and I got injured at an early stage, I was in my prime, 25 years old. And I got told that I can't play, I won't be able to play professional football. Now you can understand that worry, that concern now, because, well, what am I gonna do? I ain't got no education, I ain't no, exams to follow. How am I going to live? And that's all my mother wanted me to do, and I can now understand what she meant. Now, I went through a whole heap of trivial things. Don't get me wrong. As you see an angel here, this ain't no angel. At school, I wasn't good, but I had sports to back me and support me. And I left football, can't play professional football anymore. I went to spiral. I got depressed. Mental well-being went down. I got involved in drugs, addict. I got cancer 3 times. I was in a bad way. Now, I went in rehab for my own self. It was my own belief, and it was because of my kids, and my son and my daughter. And when going in there, I had to find myself. And when doing so, came out that my club, Chelsea, added me into their foundation. Now, when I say added me, they wanted me to go around into schools to talk and share. Now I was thinking, share, but you kids weren't even old enough when I was playing. But the kids knew about my life story because of Wikipedia. I didn't know about what was Wikipedia. The first time I've ever heard it, I had to go back and ask my daughter. She asked me, Daddy, man, come on Wikipedia. I said, no. Now, when I say this, right, I was talking to the kids and they was listening, that I was invited, Paul, why don't you be a TA? What's a TA? Teacher's assistant. And I thought, no, man, I've got to go back to college then and learn. No, Paul, these kids need to hear your background, because some of them kids are coming from the same background.
And also having someone who's obviously came from a rough background, childhood, ain't been easy. You've had ups and downs in your life. Hearing that now gives children like proper faith, high faith.
That's why.
That's why they ask for it.
I get for that. That's why I'm feeling. I'm coming to that, because when I went into the school, and it was a primary school down in Victoria. Now, I was in year 4, and I stood there with the teacher, and the boy, he was in there and he put up his hand, but he put his hand, you know when you put up your hand half, like, and I used to be like that when you put my half, because I didn't want to put it fully up, because if I didn't have the right answer, I felt small, you know what I mean, or silly. Now, I was there watching, and he wanted to put his hand, but now she ignored him. And my boy got so angry when first time I've ever seen that. He lifted up the chair and threw the chair across the room. Now, don't get me wrong. Yeah. I don't know if you lot do that, but I know that if that was me and my mum knew that I threw a chair, I wouldn't be here today. Yeah. I'm going to be honest and tell you that right now, yeah? But that was for me. He just ran out of the class. Now, for me, I couldn't allow him to just come out of the class like that and not learn. Now, the teacher, and this is how I see it, she's got 30 of you students in this classroom, right? One boy goes out, she's not concerned about him. That's how I see that, yeah? That means then he's gonna be missing his education. So I've gone out there to talk to him, and I've showed him exactly how it is, the same feeling how I felt, because that's why I'm there for, as a TA. You put up your hand, if you need some help, call me. I will assist. But you going around thinking, yeah, hell what, you're picking on me. This is what they want to know. This is what they feel like. You've got to start, yeah, believing in yourself. Do you want an education? You've got to stay there. You've got to stick in there. This is what it is. It's quite easy for you to come out and say, I don't want to return to school. And do what? Who's going to lose? Because they're not going to lose. You got to think about this. This is us. As kids growing up, I had to realise that. So, and I saw that resemblance when I saw those kids, and I think, God, that was me. I can't allow that now. So just think about that. You think, don't get me wrong, I know it's quite easy for me to say that, because you think, like, why is he always picking on me? Like, what? I'm trying to, you know what I mean? But one thing, forget that. Try to ignore that. Yeah. Go for the other boundary.
So you see how you said you had sports behind you? So Josh here, so he's done one thing wrong, and him and Keno, our friend who plays for Brentford FC, when they're together, bad boy duo. The play is mad. So he's done one thing now, and the school doesn't let him play for the football team.
It's not. It's really difficult.
It's difficult for me, because obviously everyone gets angry now and then, but I'm not going to brag about it, but he'd know, because he's a close friend of mine. If I get mad, it's like, it's going to go two ways. I'm going to let it slide, or it's a whole new drama. I'm kicking off, but it's rare when I get like that, because if I do, school is on to me. I came into school, I like looking nice when I come to school, same with Nathaniel, I come into school with a slit in my eyebrow. I get isolation is when you stay in a room on your own, about 3-4 weeks. I didn't get proper education. I stayed in a room, I was silent. I didn't get proper work, so I didn't even get to do proper education. Girl comes into my school today with half her eyebrow shaved off. She's free. And she's white. She was free. She's still in her classroom.
And there's another girl who also cut off one of her eyebrows one day, and she's getting, like, all the teachers are surrounding her, helping her, asking her, like, if she's okay. And she done that out of her own rule. She told everybody. She went on a live and said she wanted to do it as a joke, so everybody could laugh.
One, that one.
And then she done the other one as well, and still nothing's happened.
And it really is difficult, because, don't get me wrong, I only know my background in football, too much with school, but I think that's something the parents got to come in to talk with the head about that situation.
So,
sorry, go on. See?
What advice would you give to people, just in general, in life?
In life, about life. In life, you know what we're talking about right now here. Education is vastly important. Right to this day, I realise that. And I would tell every youngster, before going into a career, what you have in mind. Even if you're good at football, you still got to have something secondary. Plan. I didn't have nothing. So you've got to take that very, very importantly. Yeah? Advice. You've got so much today, when I was growing up, we didn't have the instruments you have today. I'm telling you now, take advantage of that.
100%.
Get the help. If there's an assistant, ask them. I used to be, for me as a youngster, when it was like you, I thought I was too proud or too big to ask for help. So I wouldn't ask for help. Even though I was difficult, I was like, but I ain't asking nobody. Sure. You know, I know it, sure. But I didn't know it. But now today, you can ask, man. Don't be frightened to ask. That's what they're there for. Please ask. You've got all the instruments. You've got the internet.
Sometimes, because I don't know, we don't really have sets in our class or our school, but there's clever, like, kids that go home, watch maths on a tablet, on a phone.
Yeah.
There's kids that grind to get A star on everything. There's kids that level of education in my school, in my class. And sometimes, if you ask a question, you're like, yeah, but what's that? Some people would even mock it. Some people would turn around and be like, how do you not know that? Because some people struggle with stuff. And I'm always that person, so's Nathaniel, to say, do you need help? But you say that, boom, you get into trouble.
That's where your classrooms, your teacher is supposed to have that individual that can help and assist you.
Yeah, but that's
you're the ones who find
why.
that difficult, like I do.
Yeah,
I found it difficult. So even though the teacher wanted to teach the rest who understood, the one person, you know what, T, I don't understand this. How did it go? That person is supposed to ideally help you. That's what you should have in your classroom, even to this day. So as I said, I'm not too familiar with the school's curricula as such. And I think that should be asked, that should be a question that a parent or the governor's parents should be out coming in and discussing that. Because it's difficult if, like you're saying, you want to learn and you're not getting that assistance or help, you know what I mean, with queries.
So in our school, sometimes if somebody put up their hand and say, can I have some help, teacher, so they'll be there in a minute. Teacher takes long.
Yeah.
So say if I'm sitting next to that person, I've got the question, I'm speaking to him, telling him the answers, and then I'll get in trouble for speaking. And then at the end of the lesson, that person also get in trouble for not doing a lot of work. But they didn't know the question, and when I'm trying to help him, I'm getting in trouble for that.
It's got to be, I swear though, you've not got to discuss about that. That's such a difficult one right there, but it really needs to discuss with your teachers, or they need to get together to understand the problems that you as individual students are having. That really is most def.
But I think there's learning from your story and experience that we can all learn from, which is how did you keep your cool? You know, when you
got to
getting heckled and stuff, how did you keep your cool then? And same for what you've just said, you know, the injustice in school, you need to keep your cool there. Yeah. So there's some transferable learning there. You're
learning from that, yeah. Don't get me wrong, and patiently, I had to take that, and don't get me wrong, I think it was so difficult for me because I didn't have that relationship with my mother. And so when I had a problem at school, I couldn't come home and share that with her. My mum, I was like, Mum, I wasn't too good at school because, well, why didn't you do it? She'd have a go. And so therefore, it would stop me asking her again. I just kept it in. And that's the worst thing. I didn't have an older brother. My dad wasn't there. So that was difficult for me, understanding that. So with me in football then, whilst growing up, and don't get me wrong, I'm quick-tempered. But whilst at football, it's realising how important, you know what, this is the dream I've always wanted to do. I wanted to be a professional football player, and I just kept stuck. I was listening to this abuse, and don't get me wrong, I wanted to react, but I kept stuck. And that is the reason why I'm still there today.
Because if you were to react,
you're gone.
Yeah.
You'd be out.
And you know, if you've gone trials, have you been down the club?
I've been there. You're not allowed to swear.
And telling you, anything they see of that,
it's gone.
You're right. And that's it. And it doesn't stop there. It will go through the rest of clubs you going for. They'd want to know your background.
When I went there, it was high intensity. There was kids. Obviously, there was a couple of kids better than me. But I was on first half, second half of about 15 minutes left of the match, I got subbed off, handshaking, good luck, because you got to show respect. And that's the main part for football. If you don't have respect, you're gone.
Trust me, you learn a lot. And as you know, you seem like you are learning quickly.
You have to, and the way when you're speaking to your manager, you have to look him dead in the eyes.
Of course, because you want the honesty from him. Simple. Yeah.
So how did your teammates react or respond to experiences, and did they support you?
It was, you know what, from my teammates at the time, because even when I first received the racism at Crystal Palace, they were shocked. I mean, the ground was that small, they could hear the abuse I was getting. So you can imagine when I went into the change room and the lads came in there and I was sitting in the corner, usually you have banter in the change room. You have two jokes. Yeah, man, that play, roast him. None of that. It was so quiet. What could they say to me? Paul, you all right? No, they could see I wasn't all right. So that's how quiet it was. It was my manager that come up to me. And when he said, Paul, man, I can imagine how you're feeling. But right now, those same ignorant people are the same ones who are paying your wages. He was right. So what are we going to do about it? Play football and show them. But for me, it was now, anytime I played, it was like I had to play twice as good or better than my teammates just to try and get accepted. And as I said, this took 3 years, man. On and off, like home games, away games. I didn't even go out and trade, like warm up. I never warmed up on the pitch.
Silence.
I warmed up inside the change room. And one time I warmed up, and this is at home. And you got to understand, see how the dugout is? We used to have the dugout on the right-hand side. It's now on the left-hand side. So when the manager tells me to warm up, I used to go down the east line, stand, and we had the green behind the pitch there at Chelsea, the old stadium. And I used to go to pass the same abuse. The N word, the W word, go home, ape, go home. And I hated it. But when I reached to the pitch, the end of the goal, I took my time and warmed up. And usually, when, I remember it, I could see it right now. My assistant and manager calling me, 10 minutes, they were calling me. Come on, Paul, come back quick. I looked at him, I played like I didn't see him. Because I didn't want to go back past that same abuse. That's how long it took. So I was taking all this, you know what I mean? Don't get me wrong. When it changed fully, and this is, it was funny, and the reason why I've got a smile on my face, because we was playing against Sheffield Wednesday. It was a Milk Cup quarter-final. First time I'm in touch with my dad, who left me when I was 2. So he's living out in Sheffield, and I'm telling him, how you doing? Yeah, would you like to come and see me play? Remember, my parents have never seen me play football at all. Never. Not even a friendly. So here you are now, opportunity, my dad's going to see me play again, Chelsea against Sheffield Wednesday. I thought, okay, I'm nervous, but I'm thinking, you know what? I really want to talk to him about why you left. Why did you not come back? Why did you not look after me, my sister? That's all that's going through my mind. But here I am. I'm in the game. I'm substitute again. And the game started, and no word of a lie. Sheffield Wednesday went up, 1-0 up. I said, cool. That's no problem, because I'm thinking about my dad, and I said, Chelsea, we get a goal back for that. Then Sheffield Wednesday went 2-0. And I went, nah, man, don't worry about that. Chelsea still get back that. But Sheffield Wednesday went 3-0 up. And I thought, yeah, we're out of this cup. Simple. So, and at this time, you've got to imagine, right, there's this woman, Sheffield Wednesday fan. She kept giving me sweets, telling me, don't worry, they'll be next time. And every time they score, she get me sweets. So I said, cool. So now I'll change over, second half. Paul, get stripped, you're coming straight on. I said, cool. Changed it up. 11 seconds, the ball came over. I just followed through, saw it. Strikers headed it twice, went beyond the centre half. I got in between him, scored. 11 seconds, 3-1. Second goal, made up. Kerry Dixon, 3-2. Come back, Mickey Thomas, 3-all. This game is going on. So now, Pat Nevin, who's my friend, and I mentioned Pat Nevin, sorry, I didn't mention him because Pat was a very good friend that the second time I received racism at Crystal Palace, he spoke about it. Oh yeah, live, when it was being interviewed. That's when we started to be interviewed on TV. But Pat was the one who passed the ball to me in the Sheffield Wednesday game. Went to the right, I ran down the line. But when I ran, my teammate, striker, Kerry Dixon, crossed me. So I went straight to the box. And he passed to me, and I hit it straight between the keeper's legs. Now this is 4-3, Chelsea's comeback. You can imagine, I'm thinking, I've scored the winner. So I'm going on, yes, my God.
And your dad's there.
And my dad is here. How could you believe that? A game like that, and my dad is here. Anyway, last few minutes, Dougie, teammate, gave away a penalty. 4-4, and that's how the game ended, even went into extra time. So you can imagine. From that, no word of a lie. For the very first time, you know when you go to a game and they name out players, don't they? The fans sing out the player's name. Trust me, that day, they sang my name for the very first time. You can't imagine how that felt for me, hearing Canoville sang out when I've never heard. So after that, it was amazing because when we played Watford at home, John Barnes, like Luther Blissey, I don't know, you know them players, boy, they were singing my name hard. And it was amazing because I was telling my the teammates are telling me, Canners, man, can you hear your name? They're singing out your name. You're one of us. And for me to tell him, but I've always been one of you. You know what I mean? But that's
that was when you took a step up. Stepped up.
Had to, man. That was how it was at that time. And unfortunate, an incident happened at Chelsea, and we was away at pre-season. We went Wales, and it was a dormitory in college that we used to stay. And there it was that we trained in the morning, trained in the afternoon, and by the evening you're allowed out, but you're given curfew. Got to be back in by 9. 3 players, first team players, came back about 11 o'clock, 12. Well, assistant caught them, and he gave them a right rollicking. And I was with the youth players, because I used to talk with the youth players, man, keep your head down, keep going, you'll get your chance. And we heard the ruckus, and we looked out the window, and we saw the boys, and it's like, naughty, naughty, got told off. And one of the players was racially abusive to me, our teammate. I said, no. I know you're drunk, go and sleep that off. Shut up, you N-word. Now, you know, and I'm waiting for his 2 teammates, with my teammates. Come on, man, you're hearing him. You ain't stopping him? And he called me again, the W word. And he told me, come down here, you And that was it for me. Enough was enough. And so I went downstairs and I said, say that again. And he was so bold, he did. But I'm saying I hit him. I regret hitting him. Because I hit him, I knocked him out. And in the morning, I thought, well, something we'd done, discussed. Apparently, well, not apparently, he came at me again with a golf club in the morning. And I held him again. I was about to hit him again, and the assistant held me. With that, I was driven by my coach, not the coach, physio. I was driven back to London by the physio while he was back on the coach with the rest of the players. Didn't think nothing of it. I just thought, by Monday, we'll discuss this. Simple as. You know what I mean? Your first team play, we're teammates. That kind of a, you know what I mean? Trust me, I wasn't impressed. But I got the call by the temporary manager at that time on Monday, telling me not to appear at the training ground and not to appear at the Stamford Bridge. Now, you got to imagine, I've got 2 years left on my contract. So what does that mean then? How am I going to coach? How am I going to train? And then I got another call telling me if I'd like to go and play for Millwall. Millwall, you know? Now, if you don't know about Millwall, they were worse than Chelsea fans. Yeah. So I was upset. I told him, get off my phone. And that's when I realised I was being elbowed out and I didn't do nothing wrong. Now, my teammates who thought that same teammate, well, he was racially abusive to me, they thought he'd be thrown out. But it's me. I didn't even get to say bye. I went to Brentford. I went Cartwright. Everybody wanted me. But I ended up at Reading, and that's where I caught this injury in the first year, which was a shame, to be honest. Because my manager told me I was just an investment. They were going to sell me in the first year. Simple as. So, yeah, to receive that racist abuse from a teammate was heartening, disheartening. It was hurtful.
Do you reckon if she didn't throw that punch, you would have...
Well, it could be that. That's why it could have been that. And he could have been saying as the favourite player that they wanted to keep instead of me. I would never know because nobody said nothing to me.
But if you hadn't thrown that punch, certain people would have thought it was okay to say that to you.
Well, you know what I mean? I have to look at that because I wasn't expecting a teammate to racially abuse you for the colour of your skin. We've been playing together, and that to come out of your mouth, not once, not twice, but 3 times. Nah, I don't care if drinks enhance. Sorry, I just didn't expect it.
So I say that anyway. You have to have that thought on your mind.
Dude.
That racism doesn't just come out of your mouth. It doesn't. You can't say it by accident. You can't say it in a song by but to say that, you have to be either holding something back, you have to have a grudge on them, or you'd really, really have to have passion of hate against them. Because for me personally, if someone was to say that to me, I mean, I've learned from my mistakes. I mean, I punched someone, and I'm not doing it again. I'm not looking to go back down that road. If I've had racism a lot of times before, I wouldn't punch someone because obviously you would tell me not to.
Yes.
But I'd be devastated. But if someone was to say that, especially someone that you are supposed to be sharing that passion with as a teammate, to say that to you, I'd be gobsmacked. I'd be shocked.
You know what? I've never heard it put that way, you know what? And you're correct. You're right. And that's how I felt. But I didn't share. I didn't say nothing about it. I just went on realising later on that I've been thrown out for not doing anything wrong. But obviously they picked to keep that player there as a favourite. And I've had to take the punishment. I think everybody kind of realised that. But as I said, once again, I didn't say nothing. I kept it to myself. All because as a young lad, I just wanted to continue playing football. And I mean, it was a situation, it went in the media, in the news of the world as such and such, but I had to keep it shut for legal reasons. I didn't even mention it in my book, my biography, because of that. So, but yeah, it's a case of, because of that incident, I probably might have been still at Chelsea. That's another thing I've got to look at. So, yeah, it was difficult.
So just before we wrap it up, I mean, do you think the game's changed since? And do you think the representation of black and Asian ethnic minority players and coaches has benefited the game?
Difficult. BAM communities, now they're talking about offering BAM communities opportunities in the game. I don't know how that's going to work. They're talking about Rodney ruling, is it? Yeah. I don't know how that's going to work. I'm so shocked to see how a bigger stance racism has come back in the game for 40 years since I've been playing. That obviously Premier, FA and UEFA, they've all got to step up their game, most definitely. I'm going to be an activist and continue to fight this because something should have been done a long, long time ago. We've got organisations like the Kick It Out and looking like the Red Card and so forth, but I don't think they've been given the real support and strength as such. Yes, you can complain. Players like yourself, if you was racially abused, you can say something and something will be dealt with. How it's been dealt with, I'm not so sure, because you can hear stories, but there's so many stories you're not hearing fully. Sure. And don't get me wrong, when they mentioned Chelsea was yesterday of old. Racism is going right throughout the club, all over the world. So there's a lot of work to be done. Don't get me wrong, individuals that are speaking out. Riyam, is it Riyam? Man City?
Riyad Mahrez.
Yeah, Renault. What's his name?
Raheem.
Oh. When he made that issue, not even an issue, don't get me wrong, down at the game, Chelsea Man City, I was shocked. Don't get me wrong, I was very shocked. Then other incidents that was happening, even abroad, it's like, what are we doing about this? Yeah. Because it's quite easy to just give these little fines to the club. That doesn't make a difference. So it's still there.
Yeah. What can we do at grassroots level, in schools, in the community? What can we do to combat this?
You have to say something there and then. You have to say and mention it. Do not let it go. Yeah, because that has to be seen that this is something we're not accepting anymore.
Now that I'm actually thinking about it, like, because me and him have experienced racism. Now that I think of it, I'm a couple friends with certain people, or I'm friends with friends that have made horrible, nasty jokes about being black, about saying it. I used to speak to this girl. Her sister kept calling me, you know, WN, constant repeat, saying, "Oh, it's not racist." You know, I was like, you know, and then she was telling me, educate yourself. That's not racist. Excuse me, me, you need education, because that is, for me, if I could go all day about racism.
You won.
I really could. I could really.
Look, I've got a project, sorry, and I want to cut you because I work with St. Matthew's Project, and it was last year, just before the pandemic came in, and the young boy, 10-year-old, playing football and got racially abused by another 10-year-old white boy, blonde-haired, calling him all names. I have know Paul Elliott, ex-player, Chelsea, now works for the FA, and he invited the young boy as a guest down to an England game down at Wembley, because it was a case of that the father, he said the son didn't want to play football anymore. Now, it's something we think, you know what can we do? And it was a case of, you know what, finding the parent of that young boy and educating him. Because where is this young boy getting that? Where is this young boy getting that racist, that treatment, that hate, unless it's coming from the parent? And this is what we've got to do to educate. And like I'm saying to you, it's quite easy for us to be on that attack mode, yeah? But as you said, they're going to be looking at us first. They won't look at the person who offended you. They'll be looking at us because we made that move and attacking them and say, oh, that shows your... No. Let's try to educate them. Most definitely. And that's what we got to do, strength-wise and strong-wise. And I think the reason why most of the likes of Paul Elliott, most of the FA, the kick-it-outs, and even the PFA, Players of Football Association, we're dealing with matters like this. You know what I mean? Because it can't continue, man. It's so hurtful to see that this is ruining a game. In this beautiful game.
Ruining childhood as well.
Yeah, it does, man. You don't know. Like we said, we can go on and on.
Yeah.
And talk about it because what we've experienced and what we've seen is, but it's what we do now.
That's brilliant. I think, thank you for your time. I think it's been really educational for me just to sit here and to listen. You guys have been brilliant participating as well.
I want to say, you know what? I've never had two young lads who've kind of educated me, as many as I say, to share my story today. I've never had this, and this is what we need more. I hope you continue with this, man. You know what? I told you something else besides football, bruv. This is it. You got to look at it. Think about it, you know what I mean? Your input is really, really important. The both of you, seriously, continue with that. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, everybody.
Thank you for coming.
Where can we find you?
Oh, me. At the moment, because we've just now, we furnished, didn't we, our new foundation, well, the website, and it should be out this week, but I'm going to send that information to you. But it's the Paul Canoville Foundation. You're going to hear a lot about us because it's not just about football, obviously my background, but because we're concerned of this pandemic and the COVID, that the welfare of young youth's mental well-being, we think there's a lot of that right now going on. And you know what I mean? To help resilience, to help you understand, even to give you something back in the community, and what I was talking about regarding whether you don't make it as a professional, coaching badges. And where does the coaching badges take you? You might be finding it difficult here in England, but I'm telling you that, go abroad and take it. Shine abroad. If that's so much drilled into you,
show who you are,
professional-wise, and take it abroad. You know what I mean? But this is what we do at the foundation. We encourage. Been doing it for a little while now. 2015 it's been, and I've got now a new trustees. So they're the bosses now. They just tell me, Paul, go here, and I love it. And opportunities like this, I enjoy it. We can talk all day.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
No,
so thank you.
Loved having you. And Nathan, we're gonna do some more partnership work with the foundation and
Thank
stuff
you.
because we're
that.
passionate about the project. Guys, you got anything else you want to?
And before we finish up, there is a football pitch in the back. Are you going to come and have a kickabout?
No, not with this right foot, man. I'm only standing on one foot, man.
Could you watch one of us?
Watch me, I can certainly do that.
Guys, thank you. This is the Xcast. Like it, comment, share. Get the word out there. And Paul, thank you for your time.
No,
Thank you for your time.
Thank
Good,
you.
man.
You are now listening to Project X Cast podcast series.